and welcome to this week's news bulletin from the Christian Institute. The US Supreme Court has been hearing two landmark cases this week which could affect the future of traditional marriage in America. Judges have to rule whether to overturn a public vote in California which currently protects traditional marriage in the state's constitution. They will also decide whether to overturn a federal law which protects states from being forced to recognise gay marriage against their will. President Obama has urged the court to find in favour of gay marriage, but the National Organisation for Marriage disagrees and organised a protest outside the court. Their president, Brian Brown, said, "This is the beginning of the fight to protect marriage. Our opponents know this, which is why they are hoping the Supreme Court will cut short a debate they know they will ultimately lose if the political process and democracy are allowed to run their course." Brian Brown also attended a mass rally in Paris last week where around 1 million people turned out to protest at President Hollande's plans to redefine marriage in France. His Socialist Party's same-sex marriage bill is due to be debated in the French Senate in April. The Health Committee of the Welsh Assembly has decided to back a controversial bill to bring in presumed consent for organ donation. The proposed system would mean everyone is considered a willing donor when they die, unless they have stated otherwise. Health Minister Mark Drakeford said he is determined to put the presumed consent system on the statute books in Wales. That's despite the Health Committee hearing evidence from church and patient groups who are critical of the proposed system. Churchman Geraint Hopkins said, "The positive ethos of donation as a free gift is endangered by an ill-judged, if well-intentioned proposal to move from voluntary donation to presumed consent." The bill will now move to stage 2 of the legislative process and, if passed by the Welsh Assembly, could come into force by 2015. Young girls are being led to believe that sexiness is the most important quality in life, according to the Shadow Health Minister. Diane Abbott says it's time to tackle the raunchy pop videos and huge billboards which feature sexualised images of women. She made the comments on the online forum Mumsnet, where she warned of a very specific form of sexuality that's been imposed on children and adults, a porn version. Miss Abbott says it's sweeping our society, adding, "This culture tells girls in particular that they are only valued as a sex object. It has reached a point where we need to detox our high streets and make Britain a family-friendly country again. For me, the key is putting parents back in control." Meanwhile, campaigners for statutory sex education in schools are disappointed that the government has decided not to make it compulsory. Education Minister Liz Truss said that PSHE would remain a non-statutory subject following a consultation by the Department for Education. Norman Wells, director of the Family Education Trust, had warned that compulsory sex education would promote relativism and encourage sexual experimentation. But the Sex Education Forum and the Family Planning Association said they were angered and disappointed by the news that the subject is to remain optional. More than half of respondents to a consultation question about sexual consent said they thought that abstinence before marriage should be taught alongside contraception in sex ed lessons. Following news last week that the Human Fertility and Embryology Association has advised the government to move forward with plans for 3-parent embryos, a fertility expert has been voicing his concerns. Professor Lord Robert Winston has warned that rapid advances in genetic technologies could lead to a form of child eugenics and have serious implications for society. Speaking at a lecture in Edinburgh, he said, "We may find that people will want to modify their children, enhance their intelligence, their strength and their beauty, and all the other so-called desirable characteristics. That will be a form of eugenics, which will actually have all sorts of serious implications for developed societies." An opportunity to see the Lindisfarne Gospels in their native northeast of England will be available later this year when the rare manuscripts go on display in Durham. The Gospels were created by monks on Northumberland's Holy Island in AD 700 in honour of St Cuthbert and are currently held in the British Library. The collection contains the oldest surviving translation of John's Gospel into English. Often referred to as St Cuthbert's Gospel, the leather-bound book is in almost perfect condition. The exhibition opens at Durham University in July for 3 months and will include other Anglo-Saxon artefacts and medieval manuscripts. And finally, British troops returning from Afghanistan have been given a special welcome home with an Easter egg that includes the message of Jesus Christ's death and resurrection. Army Chaplain Reverend Martin Groves organised the real Easter egg treat for members of the 1st Battalion Royal Anglian Regiment. He said, "I can think of no better welcome than an Easter egg which has the Bible story on the box and its message of hope and new life. These men, women and their families have sacrificed a great deal to serve their country. It is right that we should say thanks to them in a fun but meaningful way." Reverend Groves worked alongside the Meaningful Chocolate Company which created the eggs and haulage company Circle Express to give the eggs to the troops. Well, that's all for this week. For more information and regular updates on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.